All right, we're talking today about the 3 types of goals you should set. Peter, what is a goal that you had a client achieve recently?
I had a client, let's call him Scott. He had bilateral knee replacement around, was he 59, I think, when he had it done. And just this past week, he was able to do a hands-free front squat with, I don't remember the load on the bar, but be able to get his femurs below parallel, his knees and his hamstrings and calves were touching. I mean, pretty much as low as I've ever seen him get. He's like, I can't remember the last time I was down this low, maybe when I was a teenager. But it was pretty awesome. He has put in a lot of work. He's trained and challenged himself a lot over the last couple of years, thought it was never possible. One day he just did it. And I was like, holy cow, Scott. And he didn't realize the magnitude, I think, of the situation. So I stopped, I made him get his phone so I could video him. I said, send this to your surgeon. I was like, this is a big deal.
Heck yeah. Cool. I would say for me, I had a client, we'll call her Sarah, get her first pull-up recently in her 50s, just crushed it. It was awesome, big moment. So we'll come back to these stories later on after we do a little bit of a discussion about goal setting and talk about how they got there. So,
nice.
But fun stuff, right? So our objectives today, we're going to cover the 3 types of goals, and we'll get into that in a second. We're going to discuss the benefits of setting each type of goal, okay, and provide examples of how they all fit together. The 3 types of goals. Number 1, you have outcome goals. Number 2, you have process goals. And level 3, you have identity goals. Credit to James Clear's Atomic Habits for this structure. If you haven't read that book, highly recommend. The whole structure of our talk today is based on the framework he lays out in that book. So cannot credit him enough.
God, before we get too far, if you could just take a minute, why is goal setting so important? Why are we even having this conversation today?
As we'll get into, you can change who you are. That's kind of what it's about, right? You are Peter Bloomert here, sitting here on July 17th, 18th?
Something like that, yeah.
2024, a year from now, 10 years from now. Goals help you become the person that you want to become, right? So let's get into it. Number 1, outcome goals. These are the types of goals that you are probably most familiar with and that you first think of when you think of goal setting, right? They refer to a desired result or an accomplishment. So this could be get stronger, do more cardio, lose weight. If you just ask someone, hey, what are you working on right now? They're probably going to give you a goal in this category, right? Ideally, you could take this a step further and make them SMART goals. If you're just listening and not watching, SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. That's a great way to make your outcome goals a little bit more likely to be accomplished because you're kind of laying out the framework a little bit more clearly for what defines success. So to go back to those previous 3 examples, hey, maybe that becomes add 20 pounds to my squat in 6 months, or run an 8-minute mile by the end of the year, or lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months. You know, there's a specific definition of success. It's measurable. Those are all realistic, attainable goals. It's relevant, meaning it's a true indicator of the direction you're trying to go, and it's time bound. It's not, hey, at some point I'll get to this, because that probably means tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow. There's a time cap to it too, right? So those are your outcome goals. What is the purpose of an outcome goal? It provides a direction, right? So North Star, hey, this is where I'm trying to go, okay? That's awesome. We need direction. But the limitation is that it doesn't necessarily tell you how you're going to get there or what to do once you're there. Sometimes you achieve your outcome goal and there's a moment of jubilation and then kind of, now what? Do I just stop, right? So that's where the next 2 types of goals can come in.
And most of you guys, again, are probably familiar with that SMART goal acronym, something that you've heard a lot, you've read a lot. 10, 15 years ago, it was a very, very popular thing, and that's where most people stop. They don't go deeper, go further, and that's why we're having this conversation today, because there's just so much more underneath that surface as we start to peel those layers, which we'll get into now.
Yeah. So number 2, process goals. These refer to a system that will lead to that desired outcome. Okay? So this could be strength train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Follow a 2 times a week running plan. Eat slowly and mindfully to 80% full, right? These are kind of the actual thing you're doing daily or weekly that is going to get you to that desired outcome. There's a lot to unpack here. We're actually going to do 2 more episodes coming up on habits, on systems, on processes. So We'll be getting into how exactly do I do this optimally in a couple episodes coming up, so just stay tuned for that. But for now, this is enough. Process goals refer to a system that lead to that desired outcome. The purpose there is action. So if the outcome goal lays the landmark you're hoping to get to, that North Star, this is the roadmap. This is how I'm gonna get there. This is what I'm gonna do today, this week, to make that outcome become a reality. Yeah. The deepest level is identity goals, and probably the one that people are least familiar with and think about the least. These are about changing your beliefs. Who do you want to become? Why do you even want to add 20 pounds to your squat in 6 months? Why do you even want to lose 10 pounds? Why do you want to do more cardio? Because you want to become somebody. I am strong. I am a runner. I am healthy. I'm a role model. I'm a leader. There's endless identities to back up the goals we laid out. And two people who have the same outcome goal might be doing it for a different identity reason, right? So setting this goal is really important for a couple of reasons. One, our current identities, conscious and subconscious, right, are based on the behaviors we've had up until this point. So if you say, I am strong, and truly believe that and have evidence for it, it's because you've done the work for it to be true, right? If your identities are, less positive, right, now I'm lazy, I'm stressed, I'm busy, I'm past my prime, hey, maybe that's because you've made some decisions in the past that make that, currently true, right? But if you're trying to make healthy behaviors, make some changes, make some positive amendments to your life, those new behaviors aren't going to stick unless they line up with the way that we view ourselves. Right? So if your current mantra, the story you're telling yourself is that I'm lazy, I can't do this, I'm busy, I'm out of shape, I'll never be like that, but then you try to get into a gym routine, it's going to feel like you're someone else when you're in the gym, and it might not stick. And this isn't for me though. I just love junk food. I'm terrible at remembering people's names. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be fitness related, right? If you tell yourself that you are the negative story, you're not really going to let those positive beliefs stick.
Yeah, so something I like to do here is how our feelings driving our behaviors and our identity, or is our identity driving our feelings? I'm going to do this regardless of how I feel, because this is my identity, this is my core value, this is what drives who I am. Yeah.
Love it. My favorite example in Atomic Habits is you ask two people trying to quit smoking, hey, you want a cigarette? And one says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. And the other one says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. That second person is going to be more successful. It is now who they are, is that they are not a smoker. So what is the purpose of the identity goal? Identity change. That's kind of really what all these goals kind of, again, come down to, whether you realize it or not. But being really clear about setting that identity goal is that you are trying to change how you see yourself, how you present yourself to the world. So it's not about set identity goals, don't set outcome goals. All these goals work together. This is a diagram again from Atomic Habits. If you're just listening, not watching, there's 3 concentric circles here, like layers of an onion. The deepest level is that identity goal. Who are you? Who do you want to become? Who is the person driving these behaviors? The next level is the process goal. What are those daily or weekly actions you're doing? And then the last level is the outcome goals. What are the accomplishments? What's the result of those deeper level changes?
And another thought with this too is something that we talk with our in-person clients all the time is, what's your why? And a lot of times people start with these out or superficial layers, and as we start to peel, we get deeper, that 4th, 5th, 6th why, now we're getting down to the core, now we're getting down to the true identity of where they're at and why they're here with us, and why a lot of times it can get pretty emotional, which is, for guys too, it's like, let's get a little too deep, we can't go there. But it's so important and so true if you want to create that identity, change who you are, change those beliefs to get to the person you want to become.
Yeah. So how do we put this into reality? How do we apply this? Number 1, pick your main overall goal and then set a goal relating to it in each category. You're going to set an outcome, a process, and an identity goal that are along the same lines. So let's go over some examples there. Say that outcome goal that we brought up earlier, add 20 pounds to my squat in 6 months. Hey, the process goal behind that might be strength train Monday, Wednesday, Friday with 90% consistency. The identity goal might be I am strong. I do what I say I will do. And maybe other identities depending on where you're coming from. What is your why for wanting to do that squat? Run an 8-minute mile by the end of the year. That's the outcome goal, process goal. Follow a 2 times a week running plan. The identity goal could be I am a runner. I am fast. I get outdoors. Could be any of those things that drive that behavior. Outcome goal of lose 10 pounds in 3 months. Process goal could be eat slowly and mindfully to 80% full. The identity goal could be I am healthy. I take time for myself. I'm not just shoving food in my face on a 5-minute lunch break while I answer some emails. I'm present. If the outcome goal is not even fitness related, but have better friendships, maybe the process is call a friend every Wednesday night. And the identity is I am a good friend. I stay in touch with people. Maybe it's stress management. I just want to feel less stressed. That's the outcome goal. Process goal could be do a daily gratitude practice. And the identity could be I am positive. I am resilient. So you can see how these 3 different types of goals all interact. They all work together. Let's come back to our original stories, right? Mr. Scott. So if his outcome goal, whether it was intentional or not, was do a really deep front squat. That was the outcome. What was the process behind that?
The process for him was, one, we trained strength training conditionally 2 times a week. He had his homework where he 10 to 15 minutes a day of doing some soft tissue work, especially around his hips, his lower legs, to develop a little bit more ankle mobility, and then just getting him to understand that he was worthy, he was worth it. He is the type of person that he will take care of everybody else's needs before he worry about his own. So having that set time for him, this is what I do because I know it's important for me. So it was a really cool process where we ended up. Wasn't necessarily his strong outcome goal, that's just where we ended up, but it all started with that identity and then following through on that process and being consistent.
Sweet.
What about Miss Sarah here?
The outcome goal was get a pull-up. The process behind that was we were training that pattern 2 times a week consistently for a while. That's not an easy goal to achieve. It just takes dedication, takes consistency with it. So she put her head down and was okay to limit variation, do it often, get after it. And the identity goal was really like, get a little angry. I'm intense. I am focused. I work hard. I finish every rep. For a while there was a phase where we'd be doing, get up to the top and do a slow lower, and maybe 80% of the way down, she'd step off exhausted. And it kind of said, hey, sir, you're going to have to kind of tap into a little angry mindset here if you want to get this. It's not going to be handed to you. So she worked on that identity change of, I can do this. And a lot of it was just her own belief in herself and her willingness to put the hard work in rep after rep after rep after rep until she was able to get all the way up there. So it was a really, really cool thing to see.
Sounds like a little mama bear strength right there.
Yeah, kind of tap into it. Yeah. So, pick your main overall goal and set a goal relating to it in each category: outcome, process, identity. And then just go put the process to work. And that process goal, that middle layer, that's your action. Okay? Let that process guide you to the outcome that you're after, but also prove the desired identity to yourself. If you have not taken actions currently that tell yourself, I am strong, or whatever the identity goal is you're seeking, start telling yourself that that's your identity, but then those processes will prove it to you. If after enough time, you're like, I have been strength training 3 times a week for 6 months. I have gotten a lot stronger. I am strong. The identity doesn't just become something you're saying to yourself in the mirror. It becomes your reality, right? So let the process both guide you to the outcome and prove the identity to yourself.
Yeah, let your identity dictate your actions, and then let those actions become your new feelings. Yeah. Most people do the opposite of that, but like I said, if you know that deep down, that other stuff, it just, again, starts to kind of happen.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, look, I just trained 3 times a week for the last 2 months. I've never done that in my life. Mm-hmm.
I am strong. I do what I say I'm going to do, right? So it starts with the identity and then prove it to yourself with those processes. So just in summary, one more time. Outcome goals provide direction. Still value on these. Just because these are the most popular common goal doesn't mean they don't have a purpose. Outcome goals provide direction. The process goals provide the roadmap for how to get there. The identity goals are about who you want to become, right? Use all 3 types together and consistently execute the process goal to guide you to the outcome and prove your desired identity. Yeah. That's all I got for you. Any other closing thoughts?
You may have heard of affirmation statements. I am, blah, 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 I am. Like, take some time, maybe even ask people, like, hey, Kyle, when you think of me, who would you say I am? That's been helpful for me because it's really hard for me to come up with that by myself and to hear what are people around me in this world, people who I value, people who I trust, who do they say I am? And that sometimes helps me with my belief especially being a recovering perfectionist per se, then start to say it over and over, write it down, put it where I can see it, put it on my steering wheel, put it on the fridge, put it on your cabinet, and just to like, oh yeah, that's who I said I am. And then repeat it, say it out loud, say it in your head, say it any different ways you can until it becomes like, hell yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And then when times get hard, hey, that's still who you are, and you still make it happen, right? So thanks again for giving us your time today. Keep on keeping on, and we'll be in touch soon.